Hey everybody, welcome back to the Operational Reset Podcast. My name is Joe Swanson. This podcast is brought to you by the Operational Reset Stack method. This is a proactive human performance system that addresses the stress response in real time. It's made for first responders. It is at the heart of the workshops that I do. I teach it, and it's at the heart of the coaching that I do. And if you are in a spot where you're a first responder and you want to perform at your best throughout your shift and not just wait for the reset to happen afterwards, then get in touch with me. I'm happy to share some resources for you. And today, I'm very excited to bring on my guest, Anthony from Heroic Industries, active police officer, has an incredible coaching program himself, focused on mindset, fitness, nutrition. And Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've seen your stuff like a lot. You do a great job at putting it out there, sharing not just like the real practical, applicable stuff that people can do to just maintain their fitness and conditioning and mindset. I love that you're pairing those together. They're inseparable in my mind. But one of the reels that stood out, maybe it was your story, but it was with your kids, and you were doing some like driveway mobility stuff over these little cones or something, and it was like one had to jump over, and then the other got to move right when they jumped, and it was like a chase to see if you could tag them. It was awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was a fun little workout. So, I mean, anybody that's had kids knows, like, at some point it gets so it's so difficult to get them to move and do anything. Like, I don't want to go do that, but last time you had fun doing it, but I don't want to go now. It's like, just make their asses get up and go out. Come on, we're gonna play driveway tag, and driveway tag is like, and I do this with my high school kids that I coach too, the football players, where you have to like Jedi mind trick them into working out. Because like you hear working out, like nobody wants to work out. But if you say, hey, we're gonna play some games and we're gonna do some competitions, or you frame it in a way that's like, then they're like, oh cool, well what do I get if I win? Well, you can dictate the push-ups for the other guy, or you'll win something, like whatever. We will kill ourselves as human beings for games and performance and competition for like literally no reason. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing. We were doing some depth drops to a lateral jump to a sprint, and it was a running back drill. It was that's all it was. So yeah.
I love it, man. I was stoked on it. And I have a 10-year-old. One of my youngest kid is a 10-year-old. And, he's that same way. Like, how do you, it's a constant sort of thought partnership with the people around. Like, how do I get him off of the screen, doing something that he wants? That's, he loves to wrestle, loves to be outside, but if you don't have the right stuff around, like if you're just visiting somewhere, it can be a challenge, man. So I loved that, dude. As a dad who like really is into personal development and helping my kids be that way too, and like start to think that early, it was awesome to see.
Well, and then like you can take that and start digging into so many different things. Like, all right, so applying like a football drill basically to your kids' agility, making it a game. All of a sudden it's like, dude, like people charge thousands of dollars for this, like speed and performance. It's like, dude, just play a game with your kids, get them to jump, turn over, sprint, and go. It's like you're doing the same thing. And then also just applying that in different contexts. You could use that with so many different places, and it's like people think, and law enforcement, right? So like if we think about like, oh, I hate running, I hate doing this stuff. Well, let's just work some agility. Let's work some depth drops to just work on absorbing force, like a little bit of lateral movement, and then, a little bit of build up to a sprint, stuff like that. Then all of a sudden it's like, dude, it doesn't always have to be a miserable experience.
Brother, thank you. It doesn't, right? Like you can really, that is one of the things that I loved about like, I haven't done it in a long time, but years ago when I was living in a different town, I was part of the CrossFit gym there. I had good friends that ran it, and it's part of what I loved about CrossFit Was it
What
was like
what year? What year CrossFit? Because that matters. That matters in this whole CrossFit thing.
it was like 2010 to 2014. Yeah, yeah. So around like it was coming out of the barn days and the farm days where CrossFit started, and it was getting into more of the games. The games still weren't super big, um, but they were, they were doing the workouts before the games, all the, you could send in stuff um, but what I loved about it was even on the beginning, like, okay, run 800 meters before this workout, you know, you would, I would find myself like sort of competing in my own way against the people around me. And there was, this one 18-year-old kid that was just a beast, but I would see him, 200, 300 yards ahead of me. And I'm just like, all right, I'm going to try to catch him. And I would gamify the day. And it made it so much funner and, more exciting to do that. And I think if we can do that, like in our workouts, to your point, in so many parts of our life, it makes life so much more fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you can't. There are things that you have to just like, hey, man, we're just gonna have to go and do it. We punch a clock. It's like I don't really want to do this, but I know I have to do it. Like that is part of life. But if it is every part of life, then like, dude, you're not gonna succeed. So like, that's what so many people see, like Jocko and Goggins and dudes like that, and they're just so disciplined, and they just walk around and they're just angry all the time. It's like, no, they're not. Like they have figured out ways to like hack their environments so that they seem to be more disciplined than they are, and I guarantee they don't hate their lives. Like if you hate your life doing things, you won't keep doing it. You just won't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You had a guy on, or maybe he had you on his podcast, but he was talking about this idea of discipline as opposed to identity. And I thought
Oh
this
yeah.
was great too, where, he said, I'm not so much more disciplined than the next guy. I've created these things in my life to be part of my identity. I just work out. It's like breathing. It's like getting up. It's like having food. I just do it. It's part of my existence. And I thought that was great too, like these like sort of little mindset shifts that we can make in our lives that create more traction, more ability to stay on pace with these habits that are beneficial to us. It was a great take on it.
Yeah, and I mean that all comes from several different things, but that was Randy. He was I've done some coaching with him. He's an awesome coach too, former firefighter. We won't hold that against him, but but yeah. So that's like based out of James Clear stuff with Atomic Habits, and it's like,
Mhm.
listen, the identity is more important than anything because like I am the person who fills in the blank, right? I am the person who doom scrolls on Instagram at till 2 in the morning, right? Okay, so like that's who you are now. Like, does that feel good to say out loud? Like, no. Okay, so what would you replace that with? I'm the person who goes to bed early and gets up early so I can attack the day. Now that sounds a lot more interesting. You know what I mean? So like you have to adopt that identity as a different person, and change the frame, and that's a big thing that I try looking at too. And that was kind of what my post was about off of yours is like everything is how you frame it, man. And if you frame it one way, like you'll see it one way, or you could choose to see it another way, and it changes the way you think about it. It doesn't change the thing really, but it changes the way you think about
100%. I was just talking about this on one of my coaching calls the other night because the foundation of my program is perspective, it's mindset, it's view, and that frame that you put on, exactly the same language that you're using here, the frame that you put on it dictates so much how you feel about it, the actions you take around it. And I mean, I think let's dive into this post because this was I've done a couple of these types of sort of showcasing the things that people are telling me in the DMs. Cops, I obviously with what I do, I get, hit up and followed by tons of cops, tons of first responders. and we get into conversations in the DMs, and a lot of times they're telling me what's challenging for them. And what comes up so often in the top three ones, and this was what this post was about, was why nobody wants to be a cop. And there's, I think a difference between, certainly a massive difference between retaining good cops that you have, and then recruitment. And so these can, play a little bit into both. I've done reels on both, but the most recent one, man, it was, and I just kept hearing it, we need to be more proactive. Now, there's different, I want to hear your take on this too, right? Because some people will say, what I said was like departments, and what I hear is that departments are so focused on like coffee with a cop and just these sort of, these community oriented efforts, as opposed to protect and serve type efforts. And yes, community, coffee with a cop can lean into service, and it can lean into these places, but that was the one. And
Can we
yeah,
hit these one at a time so I don't forget?
100%, absolutely.
So let's just unpack that one right there, right? So is it important to have community relations built into law enforcement? Yes, it is. Now, if without doing that, people are not going to understand, hey, listen, why did this cop stop me? Was it legal? Why did he get me out of the car? Was that okay? And how should I act when I'm around a cop? That's a simple civics conversation that we don't have in this country at all, right? And it should be taught at the home, but it isn't, right? So then where should it be taught? Probably in schools, but it isn't. So like then we get stuck with it, and then we try to tell people this stuff in these forums, and they just devolve into this like feel good photo op garbage, and that doesn't really help anybody except for the people that are growing their self-righteous Instagram accounts.
Right.
So yeah, so is coffee with a cop good? It could be. Is it? I don't know. It depends on how your agency takes it, you know.
Yeah. And that
But
was, I think, the point of a lot of people who were talking about that to me in the DMs, and some of the stuff that I had seen was, hey, these aren't going in the right direction. It is a social media photo op. It's about optics. It's about, not the community policing that I remember doing when my sergeant would say, hey, make sure you stop by the 7-Eleven. It's right across from that, apartment complex. They got a lot of people ripping stuff off out of there. Make sure you go and talk to that guy. In view patrol around there. Talk to the people that are standing around in there or coming in and out. And you start to develop relationships with some of the neighbors that are in that area, the people that are working the different shifts in that area. That to me was like proactive community policing. And, um, and so, and I think that the other side of that coin is what you just mentioned, and it's an optics game. Like it's, oh, hey, we're out here doing good stuff. Don't hate us too much. And again, can it be good? It depends. All of these things that we're going to talk about, Anthony, are, maybe we'll save for the last one, I think, like, have sort of two sides to them. And, the next one being that cops are fearful of doing something proactive, having the narrative that the department wants about that thing drift. And I just had a guy on, Rusty Myers, just wrote an incredible book, highly recommend it. When the thin blue, when the blue line phrase, and his book is called Tattered, When the Blue Line Phrase. And he went through an incredible, like, difficult situation where narrative about an incident, an arrest, drifted. He doesn't even know why it drifted in the department, but it drifted and cost him his job. He was fired. He was investigated. And I think so many cops are fearful of this retaliation, either from within their own department or the public, the scrutiny that comes along with it, where second by second, this body cam footage or cell phone footage is being like just picked apart. What's your take on that? Like,
yes, that I mean that's a real thing. like I've been in 3 shootings, officer involved shootings, and after the act is done, like, dude, you don't know how that's going to be taken. You can be fairly certain that like, hey, I acted within policy, I acted within law, I acted within my moral code and ethics and in the eyes of God, like all of those things. If those things align, you're usually fine, usually, right? But the truth is, you can't control it, and if somebody decides they see that and they want to make that the social media sensation of whatever year, right? And they have political pull, or they have some, it very well could. And none of that really matters. So, but then the question I would ask is that something to worry about? You know what I mean? Like, is it worth your worry? And, what was that? Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Have you read that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's incredible, because it's like, well, is that something even to give a fuck about? Like, kind of, but not really. Like, you don't have any control of it. You can worry about it all day and night, forever and ever, until you have a heart attack and die, and it's not going to change the fact that you don't have any control over it, right? So yeah, to me, it's like, I went through this in 2020, where it's like, anybody that worked through the riots in 2020 was like, I don't know how to act anymore, because I grew up in this job from 2007 until now, following, Graham v. Connor, Tennessee versus Garner, like all the case law that we already know, like, knew as gospel. And then all of a sudden it's like 2020, everything's up in the air. I don't even know what this game looks like, let alone where the playing field is. How do I stay in bounds here? And it's like, dude, somebody stole, like, that shooting in Georgia, in Atlanta, when the dude stole the cop's taser and fired it at him, so he shot him. That's completely justified in every aspect of anything that we've ever had. Somebody steals a weapon system and then uses it against you. You are justified for lethal force. Like, this is not a new thing. And all of a sudden, cops are getting arrested for that. And it's like, I don't even know what the rules are. I can't play this game. So it provides a ton of anxiety, a ton of it. And I went through it. I went through it so bad after that, I took the probes off my taser. I said, I want to turn this in. And they were like, no, you can't turn it in. I said, okay, well, I'm just going to roll with no probes on it then. Because then I know at the very least then it can't be used as a lethal weapon against me. They don't have the probes on. So, which
Right.
is ridiculous that I even had to go through that, right? But, it's like, I had to come to a realization that, hey, the actions that I take, as long as they are moral and they are legal, that I can't, I got to let the chips fall where they may. Like, if I have to use lethal force, I can't be afraid to do it if I know that I'm good at my job. Not to say we can't make mistakes. That's why you train. That's why you train like crazy. But, like, you have to come to a point where it's like, you decide, like, hey, I'm either going to stress about this so much that I'm going to be ineffective. Then if you can't get over that, you need to find a new job. Like, that's just, you have to. Or you can go the other way and be like, hey, I got to do the job the way I need it done in order to live, right? And if you really look at it like that, like, you're gonna be okay. And, like, and I came to it, I was like, worst case scenario, what's the worst case scenario happens if I use lethal force, right? Where I get into a big use of force incident, and I am, right, the target of the mob, right, of the woke mob. They pick me, right, for whatever reason. And it's like, okay, I go to jail. Can I live with that? Like, that's the worst thing that happens. I go to jail.
Right.
Is, like, right now, yeah, I can live with that. And what's a bad scenario but not the worst case? I lose my job. Okay, I can live with that too. You know what I mean? Like, this is a cool job, but at the end of the day, it is just a way we make money. And if somebody wants to fire me for taking righteous action in the eyes of God and the eyes of the law, right? If I get fired for that, so be it. I'll go write a book and I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, to your point, what you just said, where you have to know the law, you have to know the procedure, you have to know policy, you have to act the way that you would want those around you acting, and take personal responsibility and ownership of what you're doing. I think that fear can also, it starts creeping into, I don't train as much. I don't look at that new case law that came out. I don't review policy in case something has changed. I'm not, active with other people who are also doing this job and comparing notes and talking about it. And And I think it's so critical to not let that fear create this freezing, right? Where you just go and hide and, crossing your fingers that nothing happens, that you don't get called out to a certain call. But that's no way to live.
Yeah.
Like it's no way to live. So I've talked about this before. I remember having a sergeant, great sergeant, who, and Highway Patrol has a file cabinet of policy, right? Like it's thick binders for defensive tactics, thick binders for pursuits, thick binders for everything under the sun. And I remember him tossing one to me across the desk, and he's like, "You got to know that, like, know that better than me." And it was an eye opener for me. And I began to dig into policy, and I began to like really read it in my free time, and dig into those magazines that came out from Narcotics Officers Association, and make sure that I was up to speed on case law. So I knew what I was doing. And if I had to take some, like you said, righteous action, I knew that at least I had gotten to that place with the right steps.
Yeah, and that's, you know, incompetence at any level causes anxiety. And you know what I mean? Like you just can't be incompetent. And that's not to say oh, you're an incompetent idiot. Like we're all incompetent to some extent,
For
right?
sure.
But you have to short like lessen that gap. You know, you have to be super competent in how many phases, right? To be a good cop, right? And this is why it's crazy to me that a lot of departments kind of like inadvertently or advertently treat road patrol, like street level dudes, as kind of like, oh, they're peons, or oh, this is where you go and you just don't go anywhere else, or you go back to the road to die. And like it takes so much work to be a good street cop. It takes a lot of work. You can get by being a crappy street cop pretty easy, honestly. Like, and hope to God you don't get like the call, or you're not gonna do anything proactive. Like, you're just kind of gonna be a slug. Like, if you want to be a slug, like you can be a slug. You just show up for work, punch a clock, whatever. Um, but if you want to be good, like, dude, it's hard, and it is you because you got to be good with your driving, good with your hard skills, good with your combatives, your DTs. You got to be in shape. You have to know how to write. You have to do all of the like blue collar communication with all kinds of different populations of people. But you also have to know how to write like an attorney. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have attorney level proficiency as a cop, like you're probably not going to write good cases. And I don't care if you're a street cop or a detective or whatever, but you have to have all of those skills and proficiencies, and you have to be okay not making a fraction of the amount of money that like jobs that only do that one thing would make. Like if I were just an attorney, I'd make a lot more money, and if I were just like a union worker somewhere else, I probably would make a lot more money. But I've got all of these different aspects that I have to do. It's like, dude, it's a crazy amount of work to be good.
What do you think the appeal is for new people coming into this job at this time? We're talking about it, and about these things that oftentimes are the movers to get people out of the job. They're like, man, I just one more bad day and I'm pulling that pension, or I wish it was 7 years from now because I got 13 on and I need 20. Like, what do you think the appeal is currently for people to still get into this job?
I don't know. So, like, I think that just speaking locally, not specifically, but like, my region, I think that the application pool is way down. And, honestly, in 2020, I saw that as the thing that the media was doing. I was like, oh, they're going to make this a war of attrition against local law enforcement as this level of government, this lowest form of local government. Like, they're going to make this a war against us so that nobody wants to do this job. And this is like a long term like fight that they have in order to like make our level of law enforcement really, really weak, right? So from an overall like sociological like view is kind of like what I saw. I was like, oh, we just want to like their goal is to phase out local law enforcement over the next generation. I think that is really, if you want to call it a conspiracy, whatever, I think that's the play here. So because of that, applications are down across the board. I think that's safe to say. I think some of it is that it's really antiquated the way departments want to advertise. Like, I don't see a ton of social media actual recruitment other than like TikTok videos and garbage stuff like that. Um, for departments to really advertise to younger generation, like college age, like guys to get into the job. So I think that's part of the reason why they don't. Um, but I think a lot of it too is like it just kind of laid out. Like, man, you have to be so good at so many things, and you take such a level of risk every day, and your margin of error is literally zero. Like, what kind of, and we're not going to pay you as much as those other professions. So, like, the pay's got to come up for sure. That's one part of it. But more than that, I think that like the identity piece, the mission, the like those things need to be defined more. And the guys that are still coming into the job, like they have that kind of baked into their spirit, or they're come from the background of like, team sports, athletics, stuff like that, where it's like, no, this is something I want to do. I want to do this stuff. And like, bottom line though, like this is a cool job, man. Like we talk about all the bad stuff, but it is a really cool job. You get to do and see so much stuff that like normal population of people will never even have a clue about. I mean, you can tell that like you go to a social event with non-cops and they're like, "Oh, how's work?" You always have those like awkward conversations, like you really want to know. Like, yeah, all right. I like feeling it out, and I'm like, I'll tell one story from work, and they'll be like, "Oh, fuck, shit, dude! Like, I don't want to hear it anymore." It's like
Right.
you asked.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so like people don't understand like the stuff that we do, and it's just such a cool experience going through it. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, I think that it's something that uh the exciting parts of the job still are attractive, right? And and when those things are attractive and you know that you're going to get to do some of that stuff, it makes the work around the DT, the case law, getting my writing better, writing it in this certain way, like, making sure that I'm on point with my physical state, my mental state, like all of those things become easier when you're like, okay, it's for this purpose. And especially when it's for a higher purpose of like really serving others and serving your community. Maybe you had that example uh, growing up, and you want to dive into that. I do think that there are still reasons, and I think that there's I was talking to Mike, the guy that runs the Coastal Hitters Instagram, and we're doing a collaboration coming up soon, and which we'll drop some more info on that on Joe Swanson Tactical, and then Coastal Hitters Instagram as well. And I think they're showcasing like not only the fun stuff, but how did we get to the fun stuff too? A little bit more like of the full picture of what's cool about this job. Like what the cat and mouse that I remember getting into thinking when I first came on is like, I kind of like this. Like, like this guy's trying to do, or, this person's trying to do something. I'm trying to prevent them from doing it. I have these tools. They kind of have these maybe rules, but like, let's play this game and try not to kill each other, but like let's have some fun with it. And it worked for me for a lot of years until the trauma, and I had other personal things. My dad passed away, which added to the trauma, and I became incredibly burnt out. Like I didn't know the things that you and I know now on how to reset the nervous system and how important that is. Um, and I think also like it would be if we were teaching that stuff at the academy level and we were teaching some of that early on, you would have more people lasting more than 5 to 7 years on average in this job.
Yeah, I mean, as far as teaching nervous system stuff and expectation too, right? So like, kind of what you kind of laid out is like, man, the job takes a lot from you, especially if you're not ready for it. And I always think of, uh, I mean, you've seen Heat, I'm assuming, right?
Yep. Uh-huh.
So that famous scene where De Niro and Pacino are talking to each other, and De Niro's like, basically, like to summarize it, it's like, dude, look at yourself. Like you've given your whole life to chasing me around. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to put me in jail or kill me, but like look what I've taken from you. And I was like, damn, I remember the first time I watched that, like with cop eyes, like I was like, shit, dude, like this job has potential. Like, yeah, I mean, you can be chasing around gang members and doing righteous stuff all day long, but you're so wrapped up in their drama, you don't even live your own life, you know? And it's like every cop show that you watch does that. X-Files showed that. Like Scully and Mulder, like they didn't have personal lives. They didn't have like those characters. They never have it, you know. So like, how do you, in order to maintain like a longer duration career, like you have to have, I think, not balance, but like ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Whereas like you might be out of whack here, you know, and be super work focused, but then you have to be able to like transition, change roles, go to a different division, like chill out for a little bit, and then maybe you get back into it again, doing something else. So like you got to be able to do that. Otherwise, the job does have potential to take a lot from you, and then you lose those relationships with family members. You aren't there for your kids' sports, and that's when I think a lot of stuff becomes problematic.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and the idea was, and this comes up a lot, that I just ebbed and flowed into a pretty decent month, and the family seemed connected, and I wasn't as pissed off, or I was, relationship was good, and I'm fearful of losing that. What can I do to not lose that? And obviously at the cornerstone of what I teach is nervous system regulation. It opens up access to emotional intelligence, better communication, better decision quality, impulse control, all of these things that come along with regulating the nervous system and taking care of that side of things. And so we talk through that. They obviously have some tools being in the program, and are able to quench some of that fear of going through those old cycles and those old habits, and finding um, an ebb and flow where it is like, okay, I'm locked into this part of the job and I'm really excited and enjoying it. And now I'm locked into family or these other hobbies or things that I'm doing. And it goes just like you said, kind of like ebb and flow. And you find that pace of life that is sustainable. And it's cool when you meet people that are in that, they found that, whether that's through coaching, mentorship, whether it's just intuitive that they've come across it. But it's exciting to talk, to conversate with those types of people. And I think it's one of the reasons why people resonate with you is because you come across that way, right? In that you're doing the job, but you also have these other things locked in with fitness and mindset and the family, and it's inspiring, brother. Like it's really great. And I think it definitely attracted me to your page, and I loved what you were saying, and the message you were putting out. It's great.
Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, a lot of the stuff that I put out is basically like me telling myself to remember to do these things. I'm serious, like because the job, like, dude, it's all over the place, and the more you try to do outside the job, like your options are, like because I'm still on our SWAT team, on our TAC team, and it's a part-time team, so it's in addition to my regular patrol assignments. Plus, I want to coach my kids. Plus, I want to be the strength coach for one of the local high schools. We just won state last year, so I'm going to keep doing that. Plus, like, dude, like if you want to do all this stuff, if I want to do all this stuff, let me say this personally, like I have to remember all these things, and then if I put it out on a page, hopefully it can resonate with somebody else too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it does. I mean, again, I know it does because it did with me, and I see people in your comments, and in your like engaging with your page and sharing those things. And so it's awesome, man. I think more people that are doing that, the better, right? The more that we can flood the market with positivity around the job and positivity around the things that come with it and can be accomplished with it, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if positivity is the right word. I mean, it's clearly not negativity. You know what I mean? But there
Sure,
are
sure.
there, and this is a conversation I've had with cops and nurses and firefighters where it's like, oh, today was such a bad day, and it's like, well, what happened? It's like, well, somebody died, or I got into a wreck, or like whatever, man, shooting, like whatever. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, that's bad, but at the same time, like, dude, I don't want to say we signed up for it. You should expect it, but at the same time, like, you did sign up to be here for the bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's like nobody. I don't think, right. And if this is happening, it shouldn't. Like, you shouldn't get into being any first responder and think like it's all good. It's all gonna be fun. It's all gonna be
No,
photo
no.
ops and kitties. No, like you should. You're gonna go through this stuff where it's like you're gonna see shootings, you're gonna see death, you're gonna see addiction, you're gonna see, you're gonna like I remember an old instructor when I was first looking at, I don't even think I was a cop yet. I think this was in college. They were like, if you get into law enforcement, you can expect to lose one of your friends on the job. You can expect one of them to kill themselves, and you can expect to be in shootings or around other officer-involved shootings, at least one. And that was on the low end. And I was like, now almost 20 years in, I'm like, yeah, that's totally right. I've been through all of those things
Right.
multiple times. So yeah, I mean, we want to be positive, but at the same time, like this, how do you put a positive spin on stuff that is super negative? Like how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I remember walking in, and I appreciate the sort of spin on that. When I'm talking about positive is I think it's more like mindset around, can I see the wisdom in this? Can I see some benefit? And maybe the benefit is only that I'm grateful for my life right now. I remember walking into people's houses, working for the highway patrol, we were in people's cars. When I lateraled over to the PD, we were in people's houses. And I remember walking into houses, just it being almost like a foreign land, like the way that these people were living, and being walking out, then driving home, being so grateful for my life that I had, that I hadn't, because just as easily I might have went down that road, right? But I hadn't. I had the right parents, the right conditions, things came together, like, and I just remember the gratitude that I would have in that. And that's a powerful tool for sure, is gratitude. So I think that's more like what I'm saying when I say positivity. Yeah, not all positive, but can we view our own experience in a useful way
Yeah.
with wisdom behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. Paul Conti talks about that a lot, where he says that the two marks of mental health are agency and gratitude. And if
Yeah.
you can keep both of those in any frame, like
Yeah.
you'll probably be okay.
Well, I think that's why the stoic stuff is so great for cops and first responders and people that want to have personal development as something that they're pursuing, is because it's reductionary, and it's like at its core. You're just getting rid of the things that you can't control. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to let it suck up my energy. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to be fearful about it, circling it back to cops being fearful. Can I control it? Great. If I can control it, how can I control it? What can I do about it? If I can't, well, I'm not going to let it consume me. What are the things that are in my agency, are in my control right now to work on? That's what I'm going to focus on with 100% effort and gratitude, that I have the basis of thinking that I can cut the bullshit noise out and just focus on developing.
Yeah, I think that's honestly, if you don't mind, I think that's a good segue into your last point, the one that you were saving.
Yeah, man. Well, this is the one that comes up most, brother. Like, and we hear it all the time. Bad leadership, backstabbing leadership, admin that is going to not support you. And I think it's prevalent. It's debilitating to some. It is all over the place. And so I would love to hear your take on it, and maybe for people that didn't see that reel and your response to it, like unpack, your ideas around ownership and personal responsibility on that.
Yeah. So like I always get people that are like, "Oh, you've never been in trouble, you've never been investigated, you've never had these things, that you don't get it. It's like, dude, well, number one, you have no idea what I've been through and what I have in social media, right? So like I've had conversations with people where it's like, listen, I've been through the same crap that every proactive cop goes through, all of it, right? You can't go through some of the stuff that I've done without being scrutinized at some level. You know what I mean? You just can't. So I've been through enough where if you want to have a conversation about this stuff, I'm more than happy to have conversations about my experiences with all those things in like DMs. I'm not going to do it.
Yep. Sorry. Hold on one second.
You're good.
I got I got to see if I can get do not disturb on here for a second. My kid is. Hey, buddy, I got to call you back. I'm on a podcast. Okay. All right. I love you, boy. Bye. I couldn't get to do not disturb fast enough. He was one of those who's just like, boom, delete, boom, delete. He's back on. That's my 10-year-old. Love that boy.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm more than happy to have those conversations in DMs if people want to do it, but I'm just not going to have it in a forum. I just don't think it's appropriate. Plus, I'm trying to get myself. So
Facts.
but yeah, so like leadership is what it is, and you have to look at it as such, you know. And this is not disparaging any chief, any sheriff, any like I'm not talking trash about any of them, right? This is just the systems that we have, the structures that we have. Once you get to a certain point, you become a political figure, and that's just the nature of it. So what do political figures need to do to keep their jobs? They have to do political stuff. And if you become a political issue based on your actions on patrol or in your job, like you don't know what they're going to do or what pressure they're getting from their bosses in order to keep their jobs. Is that right? Is that wrong? I've seen chiefs that are like, nope, I'm not doing that, and you can fire me, and then they get fired. You know what I mean? Like, and they're okay with it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything because they just put somebody who is a yes man in that spot, and then they still screw the guy. That's the political issue. So, um, so you just have to again like frame it the right way, right? And this is not to let anybody off the hook, but politicians do what politicians do. And if you trust a politician at any serious depth and they end up screwing you over, like this shouldn't be a big surprise. You know what I mean? And I try not to take it too personal. Um, Now that doesn't let them off the hook for selling out and being, you know, basically bad people, right?
Right.
But it, you have to just look at it for what it is, and just kind of let the rest go. Um, Focus on what you can control, which is your actions and your reactions to the things that come into your world, right? And then what leadership does really matter. And my buddy Kenny from Beyond the Barrel talks about this all the time. It's the mid-level, right? The sergeants and the corporals. Like those are the guys that matter. Those are the guys that count. Those are the guys that run up and down the chain. And the really good ones, like man, they are good. They can go up the chain and talk to the politicians, and then they can come down the chain and talk to the dudes. And that's where it matters. That's where the most of the things matter. Once you get above that, like kind of whatever, man. Like that's, you know, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. It just depends on a lot of different things. But you know, I just don't think that letting politicians at any level, right, live rent free in your head is a good practice.
Right.
And if you honestly like I've seen it where, you know, chiefs will really hammer down on a certain division, right? Because they're like, oh, I don't like these vehicle pursuits. They're causing me too many headaches. So I'm gonna start nitpicking their body cams. I'm gonna start really nitpicking them, writing them all up for every little thing. I've seen it, you know, and it's not right. And but you have to read between the lines and almost like, all right, hey, listen, like give them what they want. Like they want no proactivity. Like maybe you just don't be proactive for a while. You know what I mean? Or you just say, screw it, I'm going to be proactive and I'll take the write-ups and I'll fight it with the unions. Like that's fine too. It's whatever your personal risk profile is. But you have to understand, like you're making a choice to engage in this and not. You know, like it's still up to you. So look for where you have control because it really does. Like, oh, my admin just doesn't support me. Like, oh, you're right, they don't. So what? Like bitching about it to no end doesn't help. And that's where sometimes as cops, like as human beings, really, like we just commiserate with each other. We're like, oh, bad admin, bad admin, bad. Well, no shit, man. But how many times can we scream, admin sucks, they're out of touch, into the void before it's like, well, what are you gonna do about it, man? Like
Right.
I went through, I went through. I'll probably overshare here a little bit, but I went through a point with my marriage where I was separated and I would just bitch about everything for like months on end, to the point where one of my buddies was like, "Are you just gonna bitch about this forever?" And that was what I needed to kick me in the ass and be like, "Hey, dude, like you need to fix this or fix it. One of the two. Like you don't have an option anymore." So that's kind of where I get with this, where it's like, all right, we've established there's a serious problem with law enforcement leadership as a structure, as a whole. So what? Like now what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you fix it? I don't know. Like, do you try to get into a chief role, or do you try to engage in, like, do these conversations help?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either, man. And I was thinking about this the other day as well, the what you just said. Like you throw your hat in the ring to promote. There's all this like love and admiration for 25 years, 30 years. I did 35 years on patrol, and everybody's like, "Oh, amazing, amazing." And then you go, what about the guy that said, "I did 20 years as a chief," or "I did 20 years as a lieutenant"? There's not that same hoopla for that person. Are we looking for those people to become the um to showcase? Are we searching them out? Are we showcasing them as great leaders so that other people want to throw their hat in the ring and say, you know what, look, it can be done. I can become a lieutenant or a commander, division chief, whatever it is, and I can impact. I don't have to be so political. I can influence the politics, but then I can take care of my people too. And I've talked to plenty of lieutenants and above that have done that. Are we showcasing them? And I've had a few of them on the podcast. Like I have a few of them more in the rotation of coming up. And I think it's important to have those conversations and showcase those people that have gone through it and done it well, so that it inspires others. That patrol officer that's out on the beat right now, getting after it, hard charging and bringing in stuff, guns and drugs and writing good cases. Like, I want them to be inspired by the lieutenant that supported them and the commander that supported them, and help them in doing that work, so that when they get to that place, or they have the inspiration to be getting to that place, they look back and they go, oh yeah, I remember how that person did it. And they take little pieces, and now they are the one that is 20 years deep, going, yeah, I'm going to still take care of my people. I don't know. I don't know if showcasing, if these conversations make a difference, because there is so much negativity out there about it. Um, and but I do think the people that need to hear it will hear it, and they'll take what they need from it and move forward in a useful way. That's my wish.
Yeah, and so like what I get when I say like, well, what are you going to do about it on social media? They just immediately kick back at me and they're like, oh, you just don't get it. Like you like it has to be a one or a zero with this. It can be both, right?
Sure.
It can be both. You can think that your administration is trash and they don't support you and they're all the things negative that we just listed. You can think that, and that might be true, but you can also think like, well, how do I impact my environment so that I don't hate going to work every day? That, like, those things can both be true. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
really what I want people to take away from this is like, dude, like, yes, it's probably true. Your admin probably sucks at some level, right? Different departments, different stories, I know, right? But statistically, that's probably a fair statement. But so what? Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? And at the end of the day, like, why do I continue to show up and do my job, right? Is for the people next to me at this point. Like for the guys I work with on my SWAT team, like those guys, like the guys that like I want to be there in case something goes down so I can be part of this with them. And that's it. And everything else will probably work itself out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. I love that idea that you guys are inspiring each other, and that influence starts with, I talk about this quite a bit. That influence typically doesn't start from the top down. It starts from a little core group of a couple on a shift, and then all of a sudden the shift is getting influenced to go do those things. Now the shift is like getting brought up, oh man, B shift or night shift on the first side of the week is like really getting after it. Well, then night shift on the second half of the week says, man, what are they doing? What are we doing? Like, let's get after it. Now all of a sudden, both night shifts are getting after it, and B shift is gonna hear some of those, that talk, and that just starts to develop bigger and bigger and bigger. You can lead where your 2 feet stand, is what I always say.
Yeah,
And
and just kind of like because I can already hear the people in the comments. Well, the command's going to shut it down. Well, they might. You know what I mean? Like, what happens when you start being proactive and you're like, oh yeah, B shift's getting after it. Like C shift wants to go and hammer it too. So you're handing stuff off at shift change, and they're getting after it. So you're like getting 2 shifts worth of really good work in a specific problem area. What's that going to result in? Complaints. You know what I mean? What's that going to result in? Body cams getting pulled, people getting written up for minor policy violations. And all of a sudden it's like, man, if I didn't do that, if I just wasn't proactive and just took my runs, just took my calls, like I get paid the same. True, right? So why am I putting myself out there to get written up, suspended possibly? For what? What do I get from this? You know what I mean? Like, what does this do for me? You can look at it that way, and again, that's not wrong, right? That's all true, right? So structurally, that's true. But what that tells me is like, all right, then if you want to go and get after it and you want to be proactive and do the job the way you want it done, then you have to be so good at following every single little policy. Like you're being micromanaged. So what do you do with the micromanager? You give them as much information as they want, all of it, to the point where they're like, whoa, slow down, I don't need this much information, right? So that's what you got to do. So you have to learn to read between the lines, like what do they really want here? What are they really asking us to do? They're either asking us to stop being a headache for them, or if you're going to be a headache, make it so clean that I don't have to deal with the headache. So
right, right.
that's you got to be that good. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. So anyway, bottom line is like you do have control. You do have control to change things and still do it the way you want.
Yeah, and look, for anybody that is like, man, this all sounds great. How can I learn more about this? Like, you brought up Jocko earlier. Extreme Ownership is an incredible book that talks about working for great leaders, and it talks about working for shitty leaders. And it gives you some ideas about how to do that. So if you haven't read that book, like 3, 4 books you got just from this conversation of, just over 50 minutes that you can go dig into, like Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, Atomic Habits, Ownership. Like, go get after it, and policy in one hand and one of these books in the other, and like, come on, get some. So brother, I so appreciate like your take on this stuff, and it's refreshing. It is, I think, inspiring to many, and myself included. Where can people follow you? Where can they learn more about what you have going on? And tell a little bit about your coaching program. Like, I know it involves fitness, nutrition, mindset. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So first of all, you can find me at Instagram at Anthony_Heroic Industries or Heroic Industries, both on Instagram. It's probably the best way to get a hold of me. I respond to every DM. Sometimes it is such a pain in the ass, but I get to them, right? So if you want to get a hold of me for any reason at all, that's the way to do it. Now, the coaching program, I do a couple different things. I have an app. It's the Heroic app. It is a kind of a one-stop shop. The biggest pushback I get for cops is like, I don't have any time. Sometimes that's true, right? It really is like, I don't have any time to work out. It's like, okay, we'll solve that problem. I'll create an app. that has quick workouts that you don't need a bunch of stuff for. So that's got programs in there for that. It's got full gym workouts. It's got kettlebell workout. It's basically everything that I've kind of like accumulated over my 25-year training career with college sports. I played college football. I was competitive with CrossFit. At the same time, that's why I asked about the CrossFit thing. Like that was 2012, 2013. Those were my regional years. So I owned a CrossFit affiliate before that, or after that, I should say, for about 10 years until 2021. So anyway, I put all this stuff through the paces with cops, with civilians, with soccer moms, with nurses. Like, it works. Okay, so probably 10, 12 different programs in that app that you can do at your own pace. And then I also have my one-on-one coaching that I do, which is personalized for you. So like, apps are great. They're low barrier, low cost. It gets you in the door. But if you really want to like create change, it takes doing a little bit more like introspection and digging into your personal issues, your movement patterns, your nutrition habits, like your structure, your individual shift, which is huge with any first responder or shift worker. Like, you have to understand that your schedule is a mess. And in order to make changes physically, like, we have to undo the bad time and we have to restructure priorities and for your shift. Because if we just, and that's where people fall apart with a lot of this stuff, is that they take a templated approach and try to plug it into their chaotic life, and it just doesn't stand up to the pressure. So then they fall off and it creates this big yo-yo pattern. So the one-on-one really solves that problem. And again, it's individual programming for you, what your goals are. If you need to lose weight, it's that. If you need to gain muscle and strength, it's that. We tailor it for you. Same with the nutrition. And really, like, one of the biggest issues that people get stuck with is that their goals, their training, and their nutrition are all out of whack. So if you're training CrossFit, eating low carb, and trying to lose weight, like, you have all these different points going in different directions. It's like, no. We're doing a glycolytic training plan if that's what you want to do. If you want to train hard with CrossFit, jiu-jitsu, high intensity stuff, we need carbohydrates in order to fuel that energy system, and then that needs to go and flow up and downstream so that our goals and training modalities are in alignment. And that's where a lot of times people they're working their ass off. And it's like, dude, all we had to do was restructure some things, line some things up, make a few little tweaks, and all things go well. So, yeah, those are the ones. That's it.
I love it, man. I mean, it's incredible. It's so useful. It's so needed for so many. I mean, I know for me personally, personal development really kicked into high gear when I got a mentor, when I got a coach. Like, when I invested in that, and when I did, those things started to align, and that structure and the accountability and the plan came to fruition. I'd say because of it. And so it's so great, man. I love that there are more people doing it. And there's enough people out in the world that need it. For so many of us to help in our own way. And so I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you doing what you're doing, and keep plugging into it, and keep pushing out that good content that is about ownership. It's about control and what you can control, and mindset, and because it's so useful.
Yeah, awesome. I same to you, and I appreciate your time, and appreciate having me on, man.
Yeah, my pleasure, brother. It was a great conversation. If anybody wants to learn more, go follow Anthony on Instagram. You can always follow me at Joe Swanson Tactical. If you're interested in any of the things I have going on, you can best, again, for both of us, best way is Instagram. I'm also the guy in the DMs. So you're not going to get anybody else. You're going to be talking to me. And so reach out if you need anything. And for those of you who are interested, I do a free call every Thursday night. It's a reset action call, Thursdays, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Come on that call, get some tools, implement them into your life immediately, and start making that change. So enjoy it right now, everybody, and stay sharp.